Deportation deliberations heat up surrounding the man at the center of the illegal immigration debate.
Kilmar Garcia facing smuggling charges in Tennessee, but is awaiting trial in Maryland.
Okay, by now everyone knows who Kilmar Garcia is, also known as the Maryland Man. We keep getting these little pockets of information because we're at a standstill. Does Kilmar go to Africa or not?
The Department of Homeland Security also tweeted, "Homie is afraid of the entire Western Hemisphere."
Yeah, that's the response from Homeland Security. Homie is afraid of the entire Western Hemisphere. Some people love that response, some people hate that response. We'll dig into all of this. Now, before we start the video, make sure to please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, but it also helps others see the videos as well. It's a massive help, and I think people want to see what's going on with Kilmar, because no matter what, your taxes will be paying for this.
Deportation deliberations heat up surrounding the man at the center of the illegal immigration debate.
Kilmar Garcia facing smuggling charges in Tennessee, but is awaiting trial in Maryland.
Okay, so let's clear this up. I'm going to try and paint the picture of what exactly is going on. As of right now, Kilmar cannot be deported because a judge has blocked his deportation. Now, in a recent video I made about Kilmar, I talked about how the Obrego team wants to seek asylum within the United States. However, I forgot to add a crucial detail. He's not only trying to seek asylum in the United States, he's trying to reopen the asylum case in which he has already been denied.
He's now seeking asylum in the U.S. after listing 22 different countries where he says he could face retaliation if he was deported there.
Okay, for the new people here, if you're unaware, this is the list. These are all of the countries in which Kilmar Obrego is afraid to be deported to due to persecution. And I mean, we have countries like Brazil, Chile, Peru, Uruguay, you have Costa Rica. I said previously, people go on vacation to Costa Rica, like people pay to go there. So of course, ICE saw this list and their response was, okay, then we'll just send you to this country. The small African country of Eswatini. And the only reason why I'm saying small African country, I'm not disrespecting that country, that is a sovereign nation. Major news outlets didn't even know how to report this story because no one in America seems to know this country exists, so people are not even calling it Eswatini. News outlets are just saying small African country.
Torture in at least 22 different countries. The Department of Homeland Security also tweeted, "Homie is afraid of the entire Western Hemisphere."
Okay, so this is the legitimate response from Homeland Security. I am curious how you guys feel about this response. I know some people love it, some people hate it. You can leave your comments down below. Now, here's the thing. Remember, Kilmar is trying to reopen his case for asylum, and you already have government entities laughing at the fact that you have a man trying to seek asylum, and somehow he's afraid of all of these countries, to include Uganda. Why would Kilmar be afraid of Uganda? How is he going to prove all of these countries have beef with Kilmar?
Scott, Megan, here is a list of all the countries Kilmar Garcia claims his life would be at risk. They include Costa Rica, Belize, Honduras, and the latest, Uganda. Now the Trump administration wants to send him to Eswatini. A former asylum officer tells me it's uncommon for someone to claim fear in places other than their home country.
Okay, real quick, before we continue, make sure to please subscribe to my channel so I can keep you guys updated with this story. I have been following Kilmar since day one. Right when he flew down to El Salvador, we have been covering his case. So we have all of the details up until now. Make sure to please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything. Okay, so the only hope Kilmar has is possibly seeking asylum within the United States. We have talked about this in a couple of other videos, but now the situation is different. He is trying to reopen his case, but also he has to prove why every single one of these countries is going to persecute him, or he is in fear of going to these countries. Okay, so I did what Kilmar Obrego Garcia is going to have to do. Basically, Kilmar put 22 countries on a list in which he fears persecution. So what I did was, I'm pretending to be Kilmar. I took that list, I put it all together, I ran it through AI, and I asked AI, hey, are all of these countries tied together? Do you fear the same levels of persecution in other countries compared to this country? And here are the results. And I mean, I don't think you'll be surprised to find out. El Salvador, of course, MS-13, danger, violence, yeah, that makes sense. But then Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Panama, Costa Rica, the majority of the list is on the side of not too bad, not that dangerous. So Kilmar is going to have to prove or show, okay, we understand the Colombia, the El Salvador, we get that. But why Argentina? Why Costa Rica? That's what the Kilmar team has to prove, and I don't know if they can do that, and even the experts are saying the same thing.
We asked Alan Schwartz, an asylum officer for 23 years not connected to the case, if Obrego Garcia's claims are common.
Personally, I have not.
23 years. In 23 years, an expert has never seen anything like this. And by the way, it gets even worse because the expert explains what Kilmar is going to have to do. And remember, he's going to have to do this for every single country on this list, to include the safe ones.
I have not run across that.
We asked Schwartz what the criteria would be for asylum.
The harm would have to rise to a certain level of persecution.
Like, what's that level?
It depends. I mean, if there are multiple incidents of, say, being beaten, definitely being arrested or detained or put in prison.
We reached out to Obrego Garcia's attorneys for comment on the potential deportation to Eswatini and haven't heard back.
By the way, everyone is missing this key detail. When it comes to Kilmar, he happens to be a Christian. That's according to him and his family. If you guys have not seen the videos, they were praying. So there are indicators where Kilmar claims to be a Christian. When you look at this list, I want you guys to leave your comments down below. Which one of these countries do you think is not a Christian nation or doesn't have Christianity as the predominant religion? All of them. All of them to include Uganda. All of them are majority Christian nations. So Kilmar can't even claim that there are religious persecutions. Kilmar claims to be Christian, and when it comes to a lot of asylum seekers, religion is on that list. Are you religiously persecuted? And you can't even point to Uganda for that. You can't even point to Eswatini for that. Now, I'm not saying the Kilmar team is arguing that he is a Christian and he's facing religious persecution. I know they're not making that argument, but what I'm trying to say is they can't make that argument, and if they could, they obviously would, because that would help with the asylum case. But again, even Eswatini, go look it up, it's not as dangerous as you think it would be, and every single country on the list, they are all Christian countries in the sense of majority Christian, so I don't know what direction his team is going to go in.
Obrego Garcia is facing human smuggling charges in Tennessee, stemming from this 2022 traffic stop. A judge let him out on bond in August to await trial with his family in Maryland. That's when ICE took custody.
So here's where things get interesting, and here's where I think the Trump administration, they really hold all of the cards. The reason why the Kilmar team has to seek asylum, no matter what, Kilmar will and can be deported, unless he can seek asylum. Because if Kilmar does plead guilty, or it's found he's guilty, he goes to prison and he's deported. If he says he's guilty in a plea deal, he gets deported to Costa Rica, but because he's guilty, he can't come back. He committed this crime, he's not coming back. So no matter what, the only avenue of approach for the Kilmar team, if they want to keep him in this country, which that's their goal, they have to seek asylum. That is the only way forward. That is the only route they can take for him to stay in this country. Otherwise, again, pleads guilty, has to leave. Found guilty, has to leave, and is in trouble, and is guilty. No matter what, Kilmar pretty much is on his way out of the country unless they can seek asylum.
All of this follows the Trump administration mistakenly deporting him earlier this year. Advocates argue he was denied due process.
We will raise our voices louder, fight back harder, and demand justice for Kilmar and all the Kilmars out there.
Now, I am curious how you guys feel about this. Many people are fighting for the fact that Kilmar's case represents no due process, but in my opinion, as somebody who follows these stories every single day, I cannot find any other illegal immigrant who is getting what Kilmar is getting as far as the amount of different chances, picking and choosing where you want to seek asylum, where you don't want to go. Kilmar really is in his own little bubble as far as getting due process. In fact, in my opinion, what we really are seeing is that due process is not what Kilmar gets. Due process is what a lot of people in Alligator Alcatraz get. You're an illegal immigrant? Okay, we have a judge right here. Are you in the country illegally? Yes? Okay, that's your due process. I'm not trying to make it as black and white. I'm not trying to dehumanize these people. These are real people. They deserve due process. They're entitled to it. But the due process that has been created in the minds of a lot of people, it's not what Kilmar gets. Now, in a very odd way, this actually can work in favor of the Kilmar team as far as the Trump administration making fun of Kilmar, accusing Kilmar, things like that. This, to me, is the only argument that the Kilmar team really has where they possibly have a chance to seek asylum or get something out of this situation.
The Trump administration claims he is an MS-13 gang member, which Abrego Garcia's attorneys deny.
I really try to be fair in my reporting, so don't get upset with me for being the messenger. This is the reality of the situation. If there's 1% of a chance that Kilmar has in any of this, it's the fact that the Trump administration keeps calling Kilmar a criminal, MS-13 gang member, human smuggler, all of that. Although that could be true, at the same time, on paper, it's not true. It's an odd situation. Imagine you see somebody in public. You saw them do something wrong. You're going to say, hey, that guy is a thief. I saw him do it. But what Democrats and people who are supporting Kilmar are saying, yeah, you may have seen that, but on paper, it's not true. And this is why the Trump administration keeps saying he is what he is. These are the court documents. This is why the supporters of Kilmar are saying, no, that's all a lie. There's nothing on this criminal piece of paper. Nothing indicates anything you're saying is true, Mr. President. So what I'm trying to say is this. The Kilmar team tried to put a gag order on the Trump administration, which was denied. There is no gag order. And the Kilmar team is trying to argue, look, you have the President of the United States, you have Kristi Noem, you have DHS. Everyone keeps hating on Kilmar. It's creating this public perception that could ruin the due process for Kilmar. That is the main argument they have to work with, in my personal opinion, even as far as persecution. Because remember, even the president of El Salvador was making fun of Kilmar. So they're using all of this as far as evidence as to why he will be persecuted. Donald Trump, President Trump, is the most famous person on earth. Everyone sees what he has to say. If he keeps saying I'm a criminal, all of these countries are going to say I'm a criminal. That is their argument.
Abrego Garcia is facing human smuggling charges in Tennessee, stemming from this 2022 traffic stop.
And if you haven't seen the footage already, even the troopers who pulled over Abrego Garcia were so confident that he was a human smuggler. I advise you to go look at the footage. And remember, disclaimer, in the United States, you have to go through a trial until you are proven guilty. Remember that. But again, when you go look at the footage, they are straight up saying, yeah, this is human smuggling. Like, they know what's going on here, which is why many people outside of the Trump administration, the public perception, as somebody who's been following this case every single day, I'm trying to be fair here, the mass majority of the public perception, they are not in favor with Kilmar. You can even look at the general statistics for illegal immigrants. Whether you like this or not, the mass majority of Americans are okay with deportations. Now, you add on top of all of the evidence against Kilmar to include a document that shows where Kilmar had an altercation with his wife. This is why the Trump administration, they keep piling it on Kilmar. They keep calling him a criminal. But again, this is the only argument the Kilmar team, in my opinion, legitimately has. The Trump administration is accusing him of all of these things, and it's going to ruin his trial. But I do want to say that's not really worked so far, but it's the one chance they have.
So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As 2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States.
And just a quick reminder, the Trump administration is putting Obrego in the terror category as a terror member, not just a gang member, in the terror member, which is why they use that as a justification to deport him to El Salvador, and he had to come back. So that's where we are at with the story. I'm really trying to give you guys all of the details as to why this asylum case is like something we've never seen before, and I wanted to lay it all out for you guys so you could have your own opinion. Thank you guys so much for being here. God bless, and we'll see you all later. Pray for peace in this country, and go hug your family members. Please do. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you all later.